So hello everybody, this is American Seagull Predictions. Uh, Today we're talking about the downfall of the GOP in Nova. I did make a video on Virginia, but this is basically the three counties are Loudoun, Prince William, and Fairfax all led to the downfall of the GOP. Fairfax is the big one, I think that led the GOP down more, but Republicans could win without Fairfax, just like George Bush in 2004, but it was pretty narrow. So we'll start with Fairfax. Fairfax was a traditionally Republican area. They were I guess you could say they were more a moderate. However, they voted for conservatives like Reagan. I mean, he was pretty conservative. However, I just think Mondale was just unpopular, and it just kind of made sense to vote for Reagan. Reagan, I think, would like Trump today, but again, I don't really know what's up with these traditional Republicans. However, the downfall of the GOP in Fairfax was Democrats from Washington and I guess you could say the Washington D.C. suburbs of Maryland, I guess, like where Let's Talk Elections live, like where Trump only got 9% of the vote. Yeah, you got some probably some black neighborhoods from Washington D.C. moving to Fairfax as a nicer alternative. But sadly, they don't listen, and then they end up voting Democrat. And then they expect things to get better. Fairfax's school district is trash right now. Like, it's one of the worst in the nation. Like, this is what you get when you elect Democrats. There's barely any Republicans left on the board. There's only like 2 Republicans left on the county board of supervisors. And I mean, the clerk of circuit court's still Republican, but all the senators, state senators, all Dem. Delegates, all Dem. It just seemed that that Fairfax wasn't going back. I mean, yeah, it's probably not going to be coming back. Unless if it turns into, like, it'll probably be like another 100 years until Fairfax will be red. It'll probably be like a Youngstown. But that was more working class. But, like, it'll probably be like the Cuyahoga County of Virginia. Like once diversity moves in there, Fairfax is gonna turn into a crummy neighborhood, but it's not over that hump yet. I don't even know if Democrats can even keep it up. I mean, they're about maxed out in Fairfax. I mean, they'll continue voting Dem big time, but I don't really think it's gonna be really. It'll probably just be staying around the same margin. Ron DeSantis could probably, he could probably make a shot at cracking 30, but that's all you're gonna get. And maybe Trump, if he runs his campaign well, he could also crack 30. But that's about it. Prince William also met the same fate. It was less Republican than Fairfax overall in history, as Fairfax lasted way longer. It's like 1944 to 2000, while Prince William was 1968 to 2004. So even though Prince William was back then considered a rural county, as Fairfax was more of a suburban, but it was also pretty ex-urban back then, and usually just white working class. That was what Fairfax was like back then. But Prince William would also meet the same fate. Once people from Fairfax, Democrats moved there, 2008, people from Fairfax moved into Prince William. And I just think people from D.C. and, like, California and, like, big liberal areas like New York, they really started moving here. This is, like, a really big shift. Like, it went from, like, Bush to winning at the 6 point, then McCain losing it by, like, 16. Now, it might be because Obama's black and McCain was just a weak candidate. In 2012, I think Republicans did have the good thing going for it, but not Romney's weakness and him not really, he just wasn't really that. He just didn't really have a lot of energy in his campaign. Thus, he even lost the county by even more, slightly even more than McCain. Basically saying, yeah, this is basically what led Trump to say in 2016, yeah, we shouldn't focus on Prince William. He did do worse, but him focusing on the Rust Belt, not like Mitt Romney did, was a big win for the GOP, and he didn't really do that much worse in Georgia. I guess Arizona he did do worse, but still won it. And he did do worse in Texas. However, those states, Trump still held on to him, making him president. And then in 2020, even more decay happening in Prince William, where Joe Biden got 60% of the vote. The best time since Barry Goldwater. Actually, Joe Biden did Barry Goldwater. But Prince William has come a long way. It went from a big-time rural county to an ex-urban county, now suburban, and it looks like it's going to be more of a, I guess, urban, but it's kind of like a deep suburb, as I like to call it. I think there's a thing between suburb and a deep suburb. A deep suburb is like, I don't know, places like Delaware County, Pennsylvania, or let's think about another one. I guess like Prince George County in Maryland and Montgomery. I guess you could call those deep suburbs. They usually traditionally vote way more Democratic. And even though they don't have the main city in them, there's still those people from the city move up there and make it blue. A lot of those counties used to be traditionally Republican. So yeah, that's the fate Prince William met. Loudoun County, and this was one of the closest counties in the 2012 election. Mitt, it wasn't really as Republican. The Republican streak lasted from 1952 to 2004. That's like about 50 years, 52 years. I mean, 1964 was clearly an outlier, but I think it was just because Barry Goldwater is just bad in LGBT. However, 1964 is just notorious for being a blue year. However, again, rich people moving there and people from Fairfax, and I guess, yeah, moving there, making the county blue for the first time since 1964. Mitt Romney failed to carry the county it did get closer, not like Prince William where that county got further away from the GOP. This county was a big time Republican county, but Mitt Romney is weak and he lost the county. And due to more liberals moving there, it just was clear that this county was gone. In 2016, Trump basically gave up on the county and it swung vastly to the left, even as Hillary lost overall. In 2020, Biden did better. Trump still did get some votes. However, the decay was already done. I do think Terry McGuffey could make a run. Maybe get 40 in some of these counties, like in Prince William or Loudoun. Maybe he could do that, but that's all he's going to do. I mean, the last time a Republican won Loudoun, I think, was 2014, and the Republican only won it narrowly. And it was a big red wave year, and he just won it narrowly. That was just a bad sign for Virginia, and I think 2021 election is probably the last time Virginia could be close. I do think if Youngkin, if Terry McGuffey can only win by 4 points, that might be enough for Republicans to flip back the state Senate. But other than that, it's going to be gone. Maybe for a couple of close House races. But the state's just been gone. I think people just should move on. And sadly, that's what we're seeing in Georgia as well. However, I think the downfall of Virginia and Georgia has been led to some Republican incompetence. People like Mitt Romney, John McCain, Bush's failure, Brian Kemp, a big rhino, just bad Republicans that are just Kelly Loeffler, bad Republican in Georgia. I do think suburban trends would have ended up going left, but it could have gone way slower. Like, maybe if it wasn't for the rhinos, Gwinnett County could still be red. I mean, if the Republicans didn't act like idiots, like rhinos. Like, seriously, man up. I mean, I know Trump does have a ton of rhetoric, and I guess he's just a bit too conservative. But I mean, but the Republicans should have still been able to hold Gwinnett and Cobb and made Loudon. I mean, if it wasn't for their stupid being such wimps and rhinos, and they're just they give in to the Dems. That leads to failures like that gave Loudoun County saying the GOP just gives up and they're cowards, leading to all these suburbs in Atlanta and I guess the DC suburbs trending vastly to the left. Is there a way to stop it? Sadly, not. I think the damage has already been done to Virginia, and that, and yeah, it's a sad thing. But I think the GOP has to keep moving on, looking forward, looking toward the future. Who knows? We might even take the Nova region back eventually if the GOP acts. It does if they find a good candidate and expose the Dems big time. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching American Seagull Predictions.